My talk today is being passionate about preparation. It's one of my secrets for success. I do a lot of projects. Some are artistic, some are not, but all of them that have been successful have had the patient preparation behind it. How many of you do sports? A lot. How many of you practice an instrument? A lot. And how many times does your coach or your music teacher want you to practice? Every day, right? That's where all the magic happens. You know, when you practice and you prepare, that time makes you brave. I'm going to say it again. That time makes you brave to take the next advanced step. It also makes you, it gives you insights about yourself and your strengths and what you need to know and the questions that you need to ask. And when you do the preparation work, the chances of your success skyrocket. I'm going to tell you about a project that I did when I bought a house 5 years ago. This is my husband, Steve, and I, 5 years ago when we bought a house. And you can see that it has a dead front yard, ugly dead front yard. It was full of thatch. There was a termite-y peach tree and a few struggling roses gasping for air. It was sad. Embarrassment to the neighborhood. This is another picture of the same yard from another angle. Who wants to live there? Nobody. After a successful project that my husband and I took on ourselves with lots of preparation, this is what we had just a few years later, after it all grew in. Here's another angle. Same yard, another angle. Okay, and on top of it, we got an award from the Altadena Heritage Society. It's a Golden Poppy Award, and they give it to drought-tolerant landscaping projects. Now, I wish that it happened overnight, but it didn't. I didn't want to do the work. I just wanted a pretty yard. I liked plants. I hired a designer, and I hated their design. It was so sad. I cried when I saw it. I paid them $500, and I said goodbye. I have to do this myself. So here are the steps I had to take in order to get where I achieved that yard. I had to take a class at PCC about drought-tolerant landscaping. Then I had to figure out how to measure my yard and make an accurate scale map so that I could accurately plan for my materials and my plants. And I did this using the same software that Mr. Barker is teaching you in your computer classes. And then we had to painstakingly remove that horrible thatchy lawn, which was filled with these grass rhizomes. Okay? If you don't get these all out of your dirt, they will torture you for the rest of your life. They will ruin everything you install. And we rototilled and we raked and we prepared until we had a clean front yard down to bare dirt. Totally bare dirt. And then we made hills. We constructed pathways, which we outlined with string. We compacted the pathways. And then I got lots of books. I talked to a lot of experts. This book on designing succulents by Deborah Baldwin is one of my favorites. I talked to her, I found her, I wrote to her, and I said, will you help me with my garden? And she said, no, but I will put you in touch with my favorite local expert. And he used to work at the Huntington in the garden section. And so I met with him, and he helped me pick out lots of plants that would make fabulous color combinations. And so this is what my yard looked like the day we were doing the install. A lot of the plants in pots I owned, and then off screen are hundreds and hundreds of plants that this cactus expert helped me buy and install. I also had to do a lot of color coordinating. These are gravel samples. I wasn't sure what was going to look good in my yard, so I had to go to a place that sells gravel and boulders, and I had to get samples. And I had to lay them out next to my plants to see if they would work before I brought in 6 cubic yards of something. Here's another picture of how we had to install pathways. And we put down edging and pathway underlayment, and then we put gravel down. And here's a nice picture of me with a giant, I think this is about 6 cubic yards of mulch that was delivered to my yard. And did I use my math skills to decide how much I needed? Did I use my map where I had everything to scale to know how many cubic feet I needed? Yes, that all came in handy. Here's a picture of what the yard looked like when it was all installed. And it took years to grow in, but do you see how nice and neat and tidy it is? And I knew exactly how big each plant was going to get, and whether or not it was going to block a view or whether or not it was going to enhance a view, and it all worked together. But through all this preparation, there were adventures along the way. Guess what I found in my front yard when we went through all that dirt? A vintage milk bottle. The rototiller didn't break it. A vintage milk bottle, probably from the 40s or the 50s. We found a ceramic flamingo head. We found an ROTC vintage military pin, which was cool, and some sort of tusk, rib, antler. I don't know what this is, but it's very heavy and it's very cool. So if you spend the time prepping for a project, whether it's painting a room or whether it's doing your violin lessons or your sports, you're going to get so good if you love the time it takes to prepare. Thank you.